Madden holiday is here and we will play all night. Calling sick and sound sincere, in tackles will delight. The fridge is packed with drink and meat, the taste of victory sure is sweet.
Okay, so like I said last time, in this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Face of the Franchise mode. I've done this the last 2 years, and yeah, basically it's been kind of a mixed bag each time. In Madden NFL 20, there was the Face of the Franchise mode, which told the story of this college backup quarterback who suddenly got thrust into the national spotlight just as his team was entering the college football playoff. Success there allowed you to propel yourself into an NFL career and eventual stardom. The only problem I had with that is, well, it didn't really feel like a Face of the Franchise mode. It felt more like a Cinderella story mode or something like that. In fact, I think the previous year's incarnation of that mode was called something like, Story of Greatness or Path to Greatness, or I don't think it was Cinderella story, but it's something to that effect. My character that I had created, Go Gal Sparrowcat, was drafted in the 6th round by the Cincinnati Bengals and eventually led them to a Super Bowl championship in his rookie season, and I kind of stopped playing after that because I was a little frustrated with the whole thing. Moving on to Madden NFL 21, their Face of the Franchise mode was a little more in-depth, adding an entire backstory to it. In this case, your character actually had a high school rival that he sort of alternated quarterback duties with. This rival, it turned out, had some type of congenital heart defect, which allowed you to be put into the game and lead your team to a championship. You then spent your senior year as the quarterback, with him switching to wide receiver. That would change on college commitment day when he winds up picking the exact same school as you do, intending to become the starting quarterback once again. The two of you would spend most of your college career alternating as quarterback. Finally, though, it turns out that heart defects act up a little too much one time and he needs surgery, so now you need to come off the bench and lead the team to the national championship. Even though you do this, your coach, played by veteran character actor Robert Patrick, winds up choosing your rival to be the starting quarterback the next year, and you are given the option of either A, switching from quarterback to halfback or wide receiver, or B, entering the NFL draft. My character, Go Gal Sparrowcat Jr., because they wouldn't let me do Go Gal Sparrowcat II, wound up choosing the NFL draft and was drafted in the 3rd round by the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, that's kind of where the good times came to an end, as you don't actually play through your career that much at all. You just play through several high points, and several times you lead the team to the Super Bowl through your career, and you try to become a Hall of Famer that way. And, well, it's just kind of disappointing because you spent most of the football game not actually playing football. So, going into this year, I was kind of hoping for something that was maybe a bit of a melding between the two. Something that had a nice in-depth story, but also kind of allowed you to, again, play football in the football game. And, well, they sort of followed through on that. For example, since I wasn't going to be allowed to do Go Gal Sparrowcat III this time, I was going to use the name Dustin Sparrowway. And in case you don't understand what all these are referencing, this is Gold Dust, this is Galloway, and this is Sparrow. Got it? Okay. Anyway, I was intending to use Dustin Sparrow as a name, but they didn't let you pick your character's name this time. They just basically used your EA Online Sports account Choco Fudgy Cardboard Batcave name. So, yeah, I'm just Michael Carter here. Anyway, your backstory, I guess you could call it, is that you're a star college quarterback who's just declared for the NFL draft. In this case, I went to Michigan State University. Anyway, after just recently declaring, I happen to be invited to this special Nike training academy where I get to work with the likes of Russell Wilson, Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham Jr., one of the Bosa brothers, and a bunch of others who I just couldn't name all at once there. Now, this is all being done to help me prepare for the NFL Combine and Pro Days and the like. Also joining me on this little journey is my agent, Jordan, as well as my hype man, I guess you could call him, Zoe, who helps run a lot of my social media stuff where I do live streaming and Instagram and, well, you get the idea. I don't think I've done any TikToks yet, but that's probably going to pop up at some point. So at this academy, you kind of help work on some of your deficiencies. Like in my case, it's trying to throw under pressure, and, well, I actually didn't learn that much about throwing under pressure. In fact, my character still kind of struggles with it. So, maybe not that effective. Along the way, you also find out that you're getting your own custom shoe being made by, well, Nike, to reflect the position or the team that's drafting you in the 1st round. In fact, the top 3 picks in this year's 1st round are reflected in the colors. You have, obviously, Jacksonville, than the New York Jets, and I'm guessing this red one is supposed to be the 49ers, but to be honest, those look more like Kansas City Chiefs or Washington football team shoes, not San Francisco at least. I mean, that's not the San Francisco championship gold there on that trim. In fact, the gold should actually be in the swoosh, not the trim. Now, you do actually get to play some actual football in this segment, too, because you flash back to the college football playoff, where in this case you play the semifinals, and if you win, obviously you move on to the finals and win the championship. And in this case, I took on Texas in the semifinals and, had a lot of fun playing there, and it was okay. Again, like the preview game I mentioned in the last episode, the quarters were only 3 minutes, so it's kind of hard to, put up crazy high stats when you do stuff like that. I really wish they would just make the quarters 8 or 10 minutes. I understand that's long, and you're trying to maybe not have that happen with this type of story, but again, your character's supposed to be putting up high stats, and it's really hard to do that in a 3-minute span. Also, it's really hard to figure out what the announcers are saying because the music just keeps drowning them out. From there, I went on to face Clemson in the national championship game, and, well, there's not too much to say from there, except, again, I managed to win that. And, again, I couldn't really get the stats up too high because of the 3-minute quarters. I think this one in particular really hurt because I think Clemson held the ball for all but, 30 seconds of the third quarter, and it really really kind of slowed things down and flattened out everything. Again, the quarters really need to be longer during these segments. From there, it's on to the NFL Combine, and, well, you don't really do any of the skill stuff there. You just do a lot of the intangibles, i.e. your measurements, your 40 time, and stuff like that, but you don't do any of the throwing drills or anything of that nature. Also, I guess I should have pointed out when you were doing these intro bits, you have the choice of being either a quarterback, halfback, wide receiver, and at least this year they finally added some defensive players by allowing you to be a linebacker. Like I said, I'm kind of all for that. I think you should be trying to reflect more of the other positions in the football universe, but overall, I think people are still going to wind up choosing quarterback, but it is kind of nice to see an expansion of that. Now, after the Combine, you're presented with, I guess, a quandary of sorts where Russell Wilson has invited you to participate in a charity pickup game in Hawaii that clashes with this announcement in New York that's probably some type of endorsement deal. I've got too much of a heart, so I just chose the charity in Hawaii, which is basically a pickup game in the style of the whole The Yard playing segment, which was introduced last year and has continued through to this year, where it's just street ball where you can flip the ball around a little bit, and it's the first team to 21 that wins, and, well, I managed to just barely pull that one out. From there, I had my one and only pro day, which turned out to only be with the New York Jets. So, I guess Zach Wilson doesn't exist in this game. Though, given what happened just recently, as I am recording this, he just had a game against the New England Patriots where he threw, 4 or 5 interceptions? Maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. Anyway, yes, I had my pro day, and as you can see, it really didn't go very well. They only got a silver medal. I didn't do particularly better than that. And, well, I don't know how much of an effect it had, though, because I wound up getting drafted second by the New York Jets. So, again, Zach Wilson deleted from history. Now you enter the preseason mode where you don't play at all during the preseason, which seems really counterintuitive. If you plan on starting a rookie quarterback, you shouldn't just throw them out like that. I mean, again, I parallel Zach Wilson. He started in the preseason and played pretty well. It's why there were kind of some hopes for the Jets to maybe not stink so much this year. Also, you interact a lot with the assistant coaches and coordinators, and, well, I say assistant coaches and coordinators, but they're kind of made up for this game. I mean, for example, the defensive coordinator is a woman, which is nice and progressive, but not exactly reflective of reality in the sense that I am fairly certain that New York Jets defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich is not an African-American woman. Likewise, I am fairly certain that offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur is not a Pacific Islander. Also, you have this sort of mentor teammate in tight end Dalton Landry, who is fictional too, so I can see they're starting to cut a lot of corners here. Still, I managed to get named the starting quarterback, and then we had a little practice mode, and then I take on the Carolina Panthers, who obviously we face in week 1, which is a game we won, though I did not hit any of the major goals, which was to throw for, I think it was at least 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, again, this is where the whole timing of the quarters really falls into play. I mean, hopefully I can change that. I'd like to see if I can. I have not yet played any of weeks 2 or 3 as I've recorded this, but maybe it could pop up at some point.
The Jets and Browns, the Chiefs and Colts, the Giants and Bears, the Vikings and Packers, the Rams and Cowboys. NFL, electric, football. You start the action. With two complete teams like the Rams and Cowboys in their own colorful uniforms. NFL Electric Football by Tudor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we challenged hotshot Dick Tchaikovsky to play the Mattel Electronics football game. Dick doesn't know, inside is a tiny thinking computer that plays like a whole team of pros. Dick's got the ball, but that computer defense is tough. He drives up the middle, stopped cold.
1 yard.
Now Dick cuts left, down the sidelines, touchdown! Mattel Electronics Pocket Football with the built-in computer.
Hey, who's in there?
So my thoughts coming out of this first part are, well, I do kind of like a little bit that they trimmed down a lot of the backstory, at least a lot of the high school stuff and stuff like that. I mean, again, we didn't need the whole drama with the quarterback controversy. I do feel like this now feels like face of the franchise, where you're this highly touted recruit who came through college and dominated, and now you're going to be this highly selected draft pick. So that feels right. That being said, I do think they maybe cut a little too much back. I would have liked a little bit more backstory. I'd like to play a little bit more of college football. I don't mind doing the Nike camp, but I should at least be able to do some other stuff during the combine. I mean, other than just interviews, I should have been allowed to do the skill tree stuff, and then have some pro days. I mean, that would be a little more in-depth and fun. Other than that, though, yeah, so far I'm at least allowed to play every game. Or, well, mostly every game. We skipped the preseason. But other than that, yeah, it definitely feels like I'm playing more football in this mode. So that is definitely a plus. So, yeah, overall, I am fairly enjoying this, at least for the most part. So I don't exactly feel entirely right to give a grade on this bit. But overall, like I said, I'd probably give it maybe a C+ so far, at least in this early parts. I mean, obviously, this is not an overall or reflective of any final thoughts or opinions. But still, I think this is definitely a bit of a step up from last year. Anyway, the next video after this is going to be the random trade review on Spy Boy Volume 2. And then after that, the next video should probably be the recap and review for Extreme Rules 2021. See you all next time.